What developers and children have in common? They love Anarchy. They really do. This week shown to me that big time. I'm absolutely knackered. Kids gave me hard time and was quite difficult to work. So much work on my hands, on our team's hands, which is good. We like challenges. We like to do interesting stuff. We like, this big project, but I'm tired. I'm simply tired and I need to rest a little bit. But I'm over here with you. I wanted to record that in the office, in our studio. I'm now on my sofa in the evening, Friday evening, when two rebels were finally to the bed and we can spend some time together. And I want to tell you about the Anarchy. I want to tell you about different kind of Anarchy, which may change your life. It may help you deliver projects faster and better, but it's quite difficult to apply. It's quite challenging. It's not for those faint-hearted. It's not for those who are risk-averse. It's not for anyone who don't want to take responsibility or ownership. It's for those who want to fight against overblown structures and processes. So what is Programmers Anarchy? It just happened, sheer coincidence. The person who coined the term, Fred George, he made many huge digital transformations, and he did in organization where I took over the fruits of his work. So I'm in quite nice position when I can see how his ideas delivered in practice, but also where they started to fall apart. What was giving long-term success and what didn't last the test of time. My first impression on Programmers Anarchy is it really sounds like Lean. And if you don't know what the Lean is, Eric Rice, Lean Startup, if you haven't read that and you call yourself project manager, go educate yourself. It's must have. You need to understand this methodology Toyota is using is a big one. In short terms, Lean is about removing all the waste, about making your process more iterative based on informed decision and just common sense rather than someone's wishes. And it seems Programmers Anarchy is the same but far more radical, like too extreme, like proper extreme. And that's why it may be quite difficult to apply that in some organizations. So what are the 6 principles? The first principle is self-organizing. And it's not only about team choosing their own structure or process, but about team choosing the work, about the team choosing the priorities and the backlog. And this is scary in the beginning because if the team is doing that, what is the role of project managers or stakeholders? What input they can add? And also how developers can know better than business people what's important for the company. That's quite challenging. But it will make sense when we come back to the 6th principle. So hold this thought for the moment. The second one is almost taken literally from Lean. It's about rapid iterations. You do fast delivery and continuous feedback. So basically you have a CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous delivery pipeline. You make small changes, you measure them, you learn from that, you make rollback, but also you make decisions afterwards. It's far better for most developers, for anyone doing technical projects, to go this way, because if we work in big forked features aside, it's so difficult to merge them to rebase, to deploy that. And if you do projects long enough, that stakeholders in any bigger site, folks who keep adding to the scope that will turn into scope creep. Doing it in small iterations always makes more sense. But that's from Lean. Decentralized decisions is more now about hierarchy. In Programmers Anarchy, there's flat structure because you don't want to have in a team people who are not making actual input. And even Fred George is challenging the idea of having CSU technical people or even like VP technical people because he thinks why those people think they're better informed than some skilled engineers. It's quite radical. And it may work on the small teams, but it may scare many people as well. The 4th principle is about talent focus. It requires a lot of skills and improving the skills in a team. It requires hiring people with specific seniority, which is not the good news for the market at the moment, and requires you investing in those skills. But overall, it requires you trust in the skills and knowledge of those people more than in the process you want to enforce on them. The fifth principle is about experimentation. Quite similar to the second, but it's far more about not being afraid to fail. You need to build an environment when people are not afraid to take risks, calculated risks, make an experiment and learn from that. Again, from lean, but more radical. And the last six, and I told you it will give more reason to the first principle. This one is customer center. That answers the question. If developers are choosing what to work on, it's because they know what the customer needs, desires, or struggles with. Instead of having someone in an organization designing the product, designing the changes, they are responding to actual needs of the customer. And now it makes sense. But does it work? Yeah, it does. It helped, especially in the example of project I saw and I inherited. It allowed the team to make fast digital transformation. There was some drawback, and one of them actually applies to having too much decision on developers without proper information, which broke one of the principles over here. Is there were small elements where developers made not perfect technical decisions, and they were not only not perfect in hindsight, but also they were a bit of chasing the next cool thing. This is something you have to be a bit careful when you're putting a lot of decision power in development teams. But does choosing what to work on, and especially going customer center sense in practice? I think it does, but it really depends on the kind of project you're doing and the team. I'm in position when I'm building internal tools. Internal in terms that are used by other developers and by the clients inside the organization. So my pool of clients is small. I can literally see where they struggle. I can literally go over there and work out the way how I can improve the work. In these terms, my team will be far more suited to make decisions rather than someone who is not directly working with those clients. And removing any layers in between can speed up the work. But in other teams, it's not necessarily true. Because one of the things that we developers sometimes underestimate is the role of commercial teams. And commercial teams are serving usually the wider market, big amount of clients and different kinds of clients. There will be mass clients as consumers, but in some industries like media, you have clients which are advertisers, and they'll have different goals and different leverage. And this also changed the optics, because lean-oriented and programmers Anarchy-oriented development teams will be looking in long-term goals, where commercial teams will be looking for the short-term goals. They will be focused on specific time spans and the current financial year, because that's what matters for them. And in some organizations, either commercial or sales teams are actually the ones which are bringing in the money. Even if developers are creating value, someone has to go over there and sell it. And this makes the goals of those teams maybe more important than developer teams. When it comes to iterations and experiments, it actually works better other way around. The teams which are more focused on sales and commercials are far easier to measure. It's much easier to make small experiments on subset of clients or part of your market, see how the changes are applying to them, if that helps your sales or not, if that helps your conversion or not, and then make decisions. And I saw that working perfectly. Fun enough, working in the smaller projects, working with specific close clients, it is quite difficult to make these metrics. And you have to sometimes choose in between heavy monitoring of your users or having less numerical, much more ambiguous metrics of happiness of your customers. And the talent focus is quite challenging, because while lean and different agile methodologies leave a lot of space for different level of engineers, it does seem that Programmers Anarchy requires at least upper middle to senior level developers. There is some space for mentoring, but you wouldn't give the same power for people who spent less time in a project, who haven't learned the seniority, as we understand seniority of being able to make informed decisions based on your experience and incoming data. And to be honest, I would love to work in Programmers Anarchy, but I have to accept that there have to be a balance. If you are applying methodology 1-to-1, 100%, you're missing the point. Every methodology, if it's lean, Kanban, waterfall, etc., is a set of tools which you can choose from and apply to fit your organization, and sometimes that has to be compromised. I strongly suggest that for startups, especially SaaS platforms, because it's easier to build that trust and visibility in a team. Anywhere also where you have the teams building internal tools, both serving non-technical clients but also some components for other teams, technical teams in your organization. But there's something very appealing in this methodology, for it does force people to take more ownership and feel more bought in, more part of organization, which may help you build bigger loyalty in a team. So now tell me, are you more lean or are you more a rebel?